Morning everybody, my name is Ali Board. I'm a professional artist, demonstrator and author, and I'm coming to you live from my studio at Downham Farm in the middle of Dorset to bring you Technique Tuesday. If this is the first time you've ever joined us, you are very welcome. Good morning to everybody. Technique Tuesday is something that I set up about a year ago where every Tuesday I share a few tips and tricks. Sometimes I've been sharing videos and sometimes we've had a bit of a chat over on my blog. But during lockdown and during these really unprecedented times, I thought it was much nicer if I actually come to you live. So we're going to have a look at some products this morning, but please do write in the comments any questions that you might have, or say hello, or say where you're coming from, and I will try to get to as many as I can. I can already see that there's lots of hellos coming in. Morning Laurie, morning Cheryl, morning Steph, good morning Christine, good morning Fran whilst working, very good. Good morning Christine and Sue, good morning, my first watch, looking forward to it. Morning Sandra, good morning Carol, good morning Jan, good morning Ali. Oh my goodness, there's so many of you out there. Thank you very much for tuning in this morning. So just in case you're not aware, what I have been doing over the past few weeks is on a Monday I've been setting a theme for the week. Now, I have to say that those themes usually have a bit of an ulterior motive, simply because it will be something that I'm up to during the week or some lesson that I'm planning, all of those kind of things. And this week, it is sea and sky. And I have to tell you that there's a really good reason for that, and it's because yesterday we did a koi carp tutorial. I know that's not technically sea, but sea and sky, the alliteration of that sounds much nicer than pond and sky. And then on Friday, I will be very proud to be representing Artist Demo Days here on Facebook, where I'm teaming up with some very, very esteemed company to bring you some tutorials. I will tell you more about that later. And for that, I shall be doing a bird of prey. So that's the reason that we're doing it. But today I thought what would be nice would be to share some products with you, because I know sometimes when you get a catalogue, and believe me, I am the world's worst person for doing this, you get a catalogue of art materials and you think, oh, I wonder if that's any good. I have to say, I'm the one that usually buys them. But what there is a big rise of at the moment is metallic watercolours. And so what I thought I would do is share some of the products that I have in my stash of paints, and then you can see whether you think they are going to suit your project or not. So I'm just going to change to an overhead camera and we'll test some products out, and if you have any questions, like I said, pop them in the comments and I will get to them as soon as I can. So let's switch to that overhead camera, and you can see that this is the demonstration piece that I did yesterday, which was our koi carp, and we experimented with all sorts of things on this. We experimented with wet into wet, and we did a bit of blending out, and we did a bit of glazing and all of those kind of things. But one of the things that really was interesting to do was to add some metallics. Now I'm going to tip this up ever so slightly, and I'm hoping that you can see that in some places my carp has got a bit of a shimmer going on, and that's because we glazed some metallic colours over the top. So what I thought I would do this morning is share with you some of my favourite products. You can see some of them over here on the right just creeping into shot, and then you can decide whether you think they're for them or not. So just to catch up with some of the good mornings. Good morning, Mum. Good morning. Oh gosh, so many good mornings. Thank you very much. Oh, good morning, Herds Hill. How lovely that you're able to join us this morning. Thank you very much for tuning in. And one thing that I must say before I forget, the lovely Louise is online. And what I would like to say, Louise, is a very happy birthday to you. Good morning. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you're able to have as good a birthday as you possibly can in this situation. So let's put the koi carp to one side, and I want to introduce two surfaces that I'm going to be painting on today. I've got some little samples of watercolour paper over here. So this is the Saunders Waterford watercolour paper, one of my favourites, I have to say. And on this side, I've got some black card. Now this is the Frisk black card. Let me just remind myself what weight it is. This is the 350 GS. Actually, let's show you the cover because that's much more helpful, isn't it? So here we go. Here's the Frisk Heavyweight Black Card, 350 gram. I like 3 or 4 different surfaces, it has to be said, in black paper to paint on. I do like the Van Gogh black watercolour paper, but this is also a favourite of mine too, simply because it's not as expensive as watercolour paper, but it is a really nice heavyweight surface. So I've got those two. And the reason I've got those two is simply because sometimes metallics don't show up spectacularly well on white. So I thought what we would do is test them on the white surface and test them on the black surface too, and then that way you can see the difference. So I'm going to move those ever so slightly to the left and up above, and I'm going to introduce my palette to you because my palette is going to be quite important in today's demonstration. So the first product that I have to share with you is this one. So this is the SAA, that is a company who I'm very proud to represent. They do all sorts of things. So they sell materials, they've got video on demand, they've got a lovely membership, a magazine, all sorts of things. But they also produce their own watercolours. They're not the most expensive watercolours that you can buy, but they're certainly not the cheapest either. They sit somewhere in between those two things. But what they do produce is a really interesting range of metallics. So this one is silver, but they do gold and they do pearl as well. I have to say I really like the silver. And so let's just unscrew the lid and squeeze some of it out onto the palette so you can see what's happening. Now you might notice when I squeeze that colour out that there's a little bit of yellow fluid that comes out. Please don't worry about that if that ever happens to your watercolour paints. That is just the gum arabic. And gum arabic is the product that binds the pigment together for a watercolour. And remember that because that's going to be really, really important with something that we discuss a little bit later on. So I've got my imitation sable brushes, also SAA. I love these brushes and I'm really horrible to them and they stand up really well. And I'm going to pop that over in the water. Just give it a bit of a white. Let me grab some kitchen roll from one side so that I've got something that I can control the water on my brush. And I'm going to add water into the palette, coating all the bristles of my brush. You'll see that I roll my brush quite a lot, and that's so that I can coat all the bristles at the same time. Now let's pop that colour over onto the white, and you should be able to see quite quickly that it's a rather nice kind of muted grey. You might not be able to see the metallic element of it in this light, or you can see it a little bit. There you go, it's a bit of a sheen going on there, but it's a really nice soft grey. Let's bring it over to the black and let's paint, just going to move my chair a little bit, let's paint a little square up in this top corner. And there you go, straight away. The difference on the black is quite astonishing. So we'll pop that colour down and then I'll wash out my brush. I'll just control the water on my brush a little bit and I'll use that water to blend out the bottom so that you can see the colour when it's a little bit thinner. Oh, I faffed about quite a lot with that. There you go. Don't ever practice what I preach, do I? So you can see that you get a nice, quite really good coverage over there, but you also can thin it out too. So that's the SAA's silver watercolour. Now, one of the other things that's come to my attention recently in watercolour terms are these two colours. Now, I've got them squeezed out ready into pans because this is the way that I prefer to use them. And these are new colours that have been brought out in the last couple of weeks by the paint company Rembrandt. Now myself, I don't use an awful lot of Rembrandt colours, but that doesn't mean anything. They're just not quite on my radar as much as they could be. But I saw these and thought, ooh, they look interesting, because these are what are known as chameleon colours. So this one on the left, this is chameleon blue, green, gold. And then this one over on this side is chameleon gold, red, violet. And I've got those two ready squeezed out into my pans because this is the way that I like to store them in my watercolour box. Let's just put those tubes to one side. And I've wet them with a spray bottle ahead of time so that you can see I can coat my brush. If I pick that up, you can see that I can coat my brush by rolling it around, and you can see that the pigment is all over the brush. Now this one, let me just remind myself so I don't get it wrong, is the blue, green, gold. Now on the white paper, it's quite tricky to see because it is more like a glaze, but there we go, if I get it into the light, you can see that it's got a nice shine on it. There we go. And if I do the same thing but over on the black, you wait until you see what these do. These are amazing. Look at that shimmer. Isn't that beautiful? And then, of course, you can do all the same things that you do ordinarily with watercolour. You can blend them out. But look at the sparkle on that. Isn't that beautiful? I haven't had a chance to play with these as much as I would like to, but honestly, they are going to go into my arsenal of products. So let me give my brush a good wash out, and then we'll go over to the other one. Let me remind myself, this is Gold, Red, Violet. So I'm going to coat my brush in the same way. Let's show you it on the white. So it's got a bit of a pinky tinge to it. Can you see that in the background? There we go. But again, over on the black paper, you'll be able to see it even more clearly, and I have to say that is just a delicious, delicious colour. What's not to like about that? What a shimmer those have on them. Now let me get them into the light. I've got a lamp next to me so that you can see how much these shine. Aren't they beautiful? So I'm looking forward to finding some projects that I can use those in, because I think they look really exciting. Let me give my brush a good wash out, and we'll put those to one side. And I'll introduce you to this product, which is a product that I use quite a lot. This is made by Schminker. This is called Aqua Bronze, and it comes in a powder format. So let me take the lid off, and you can peer inside the jar and see exactly what we've got. Now you can see, there we go, it's in a very, very, very fine metallic powder. And the way that you activate this is I'm going to pop some, using a coffee stirrer, you know, my favourite tool of choice, over into the top of my palette so that you can see exactly how fine it is. Let's give that a really good tap. I'll put the lid on before I sneeze and it goes everywhere. And then to that, the way that you activate it is by dropping some water on top of that product. Now you watch when the water goes in. Look at that. Isn't that lovely? Isn't that just gorgeous? Turns into a gold really, really quickly. Oh, sorry, I've just got to deviate because I've just seen somebody log in. Thank you very much for all your comments. If I don't get to the comments during this live broadcast, I promise I will reply to you all afterwards. But what I have seen is the very lovely Anita Pounder. Artist in residence with the SAA. Anita, thank you ever so much for tuning in. I really, really appreciate your support. Lovely to see you. I hope you're staying well. So let's give that a really good mix, and you can see Sharon Richards has put yum. I think that's a brilliant word to sum it up. Thank you. So I'm going to take that colour over onto the black, and look how metallic that is. Isn't that lovely? Let's pick up some more on my brush. I haven't mixed it very well. Under normal circumstances, I'd probably mix it a little bit better than this, but look at that. That's about as metallic as it gets, isn't it? Isn't that beautiful? Actually, I like them all together. I'm loving this, the gold with this kind of sparkly violet over here. That's lovely. Right, give my brush a wash out. One thing to bring to your attention, and I'm going to put this into shot as well, is how much the metallic sits on the surface of your water. So you may want to change your water 2 or 3 times while you're doing this so that everything doesn't end up metallic. To be honest, today I'm not worried about it, so I'm just going to leave it be for the time being. I've got one more thing to show you. And the thing I'm going to show you today is this product, which is called Pearlex. Now, Pearlex is a really interesting product simply because you can do so much with it. It's an inert powder, and what that means is that depending on what you mix with it will depend on the effect that you get. So for example, you could mix it with linseed oil and turn it into an oil paint. You could mix it with an acrylic binder or PVA glue and it will turn into an acrylic paint. Or you can mix it with gum arabic. Now, do you remember I said right at the start that that yellowy substance that you could see when I squeezed out my tube of silver was going to be really important? This is gum arabic in powder form. So what that means is if I mix the gum arabic with the Pearlex, then I can make it into a watercolour. and that is what I'm going to do this morning. I have just seen Herds Hill, hello Herds Hill, everybody at Herds Hill, have just commented. I wasn't sure if you could hear them or not, but yes, my chickens are making a right old racket in the background. I think one of them may have laid an egg, and what they tend to do when they've laid an egg is celebrate that fact. So typical chickens stole the show as per usual, but yes, I'm sure when I go out there after this broadcast I'll find some eggs. Here's the gum arabic, and there's lots of different recipes out there for how much gum arabic you mix with Pearlex, and lots of people will tell you lots of different things. Myself, I just like to kind of wing it, and I like the consistency of about 1:1. That's not actually what's recommended by the company, but hey, it's me, and you know me, I like to break the rules. So there's my little deposit of gum arabic powder, and here's going to go my deposit of Pearlex into it as well, maybe a bit more. It's like cooking this, isn't it? So this is antique copper. It might look a bit brown and boring at the moment, but hopefully when we add some water to it, let's grab my brush, give my brush a really good rinse out. I've got all of that gold from the aqua bronze, but that's okay, doesn't matter. Let's add some water into there and then give it a really good mix up, and you can see just how easily that comes together, and hopefully you can see what a beautiful rich colour that is. Now because I've mixed it 1:1 with the gum arabic, you can see, if I take my brush over here, you can see it's quite a thick consistency at the moment, but that means it's very editable. So it's kind of more like a gouache at the moment. It will cover really thickly. So let's paint that onto my black piece of paper, and you can see exactly the consistency. Look at that. It's so smooth. This is why I love Pearlex, because it goes on with such even coverage. There we go, and then let's get that into the light. There you go, you can see that shine. Isn't that lovely? But then if I take a bit of that colour and I put it somewhere else on my palette, I can add some more water to it and I can thin it out a little more. So we could be glazing with it, or we could be doing washes or vignettes or all sorts of things with it, because we now have the control over how thin that is. Let's paint that on, and actually let's just add some water to my brush and see if we can blend that out down the page. And it goes an awful long way. So look, there we go, let's get that into the light so you can see exactly that lovely shimmer. I have to say, probably of all of them, the aqua bronze is the most metallic, but Pearlex has a huge quantity of colours in its range, whereas the aqua bronze only has 6 or so, I think. So that gives you some idea of some of the metallic colours that you can add to your watercolour projects. So let's switch back to me. I'm going to move all these things out of the way before I knock them over. And let's see if I can get to some of your questions. So let's just go back a little bit onto the timeline and see what everybody's saying about the metallics. Oh, lots of good mornings. Good morning. Thank you ever so much, everybody, for tuning in. Cheryl's asking, will you be doing another class on the koi? Not entirely sure what's happening with the tutorials at the moment, because thanks to you, lovely lot, I'm very fully booked and inundated. And to be honest, I'm waiting to see what the news is regarding movement and how I can get back to work and all of those kind of things. But I promise you, if you keep an eye on my website and you keep an eye on social media, the minute that any extra tutorials crop up, I promise I'll post them on there. Good morning to everybody who's saying, people are loving the colours, loving the metallics. People are saying this is really useful to see the products. Thank you very much. Yes, Christine, there is a huge difference on the black, isn't there? Painting on black with watercolours can make your head hurt a little bit, because I think when we're painting on white, we're so used to starting off with our lightest element and then adding our shadows. Of course, you have to reverse that process onto black, so all your shadows are all taken care of, and you need to put your highlights back in. But it does make for interesting painting, and of course those metallics really show up. Gorgeous colours, lots of good mornings. Can you give some tips on the Brusho Sprinkle It, please? So Sprinkle It is the metallic equivalent of Brusho, made by the same company. They are, how can I describe them? They're a little bit thinner in consistency than the Pearlex or the Aqua Bronze. Certainly very good for glazing, and because Anita has tuned in, I do know that she's done some really interesting demonstrations and tutorials with the Sprinkle It. So give her a bit of support and pop over either to the SAA site. I'm not sure if they're on YouTube or not, but if they are, you'll be able to find some of her demonstrations there. Carolyn is asking a very interesting question. How light fast are these? Now, the question of light fastness is always a tricky one because it depends on so many things. So if you are painting on a really stable surface, so something like a really good quality watercolour paper, then they should be fine as long as you don't hang them in direct sunlight. But you shouldn't hang anything in direct sunlight, watercolour, oil paintings, or the rest of it. Now, the black is an interesting prospect because I have to say I'm not entirely certain about the light fastness of the black Frisk card. But like I said, there are black watercolour papers out there, and there's plenty of information on the internet about how light fast those papers are too. They're not going to sell a black watercolour paper that's going to fade the minute that anything happens to it. But my plea is, no matter what you paint, whether it's with some cheap pencils or whether it's with really expensive art materials, don't hang your work in direct sunlight unless it's with a UV varnish, if you've got an oil painting or an acrylic painting, or if it's under museum glass, which does cost a bit extra, I have to say. But keep your paintings away from sunlight and you should be fine. Good morning from Guernsey. Good morning, Sophia. Connie is saying Venetian masks would look fab with these paints, wouldn't they? Yes, I have to say. And Jan says, I've used the metallic powders and wasn't too taken, but using them on the black paper is definitely the secret. Good. I'm glad I was able to share that with you. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing a few products. A little bit different Technique Tuesday for me today. Rather than painting something, I thought it would be nice to actually show you how those products work so you can make decisions for yourself. A bit of news to share with you. Obviously, thank you ever so much for your support during these testing times, and thank you once again for tuning in this morning. I really genuinely appreciate it. You can follow me on this page, Alison Seaboard Artist. You can also ask to be a member of the Learning to Paint page with Alison Seaboard. And that's just a little member group, which is about 900 members at the moment, which is really lovely. People share their work, they share hints and tips. I pop up on occasion and stick my oar in for what it's worth. But it's a lovely, supportive community. You can follow me on Instagram, you can follow me on Twitter, and don't forget I've got my website too, which is growing every single day with things that I've been putting on there just to help you out. So that's alisonseaboard-fineart.co.uk. And over on there, not only have you've got the list of all the latest classes and tutorials, which are being delivered virtually at the moment to keep us all very safe, but I've also got reference photos on there, which you are able to download for free. They are copyright free, so anything on there you can go and use in your paintings if you're a bit stuck. And my blog is on there too, where you will see repeats of the Technique Tuesday, and you can go back through all the Technique Tuesdays and you can have a look, see if there's anything on there that catches your eye. Please do leave comments. I love to hear from you. I promise I love to hear from you. And I always try and reply whenever I can. Now, the big news, of course, is this Friday and Saturday, I'm taking part in the Artist Demo Days. So that is myself, Denise Allen, Sharon Hurst, Ali Hargreaves, Matthew Palmer and Jeremy Ford. And we are beaming live from Facebook into your own homes on the Friday and the Saturday, where we will be sharing a whole host of techniques and subject matter and just a little bit of an insight into our painting techniques. I kick it off, not scared at all, at 12 o'clock on the Friday, where I will be doing a bird of prey in mixed media. So to access that, go to Artist Demo Days on Facebook and you will see it pop up live at 12 o'clock on Friday. But if you go to the events tab, then you'll be able to click on the individual event, and each individual event has got information there too. So for example, on mine, you've got the photograph that I'm working from, and I've got huge thanks to say to Kev Kindred for allowing me to use his photograph. We've got a line drawing there, and we've got a materials list as well, so you can either paint along at home, or after the event you can go back and you'll be able to watch those videos again. So you've got 6 projects there. That should keep you going for quite a long time, wouldn't it? So let's just have a look to see if anyone's got any more questions for me. Carolyn, thank you for a very helpful answer. My absolute pleasure. Good morning, Nicola. Helen saying, a metallic chicken. Well, if you're going to set me that kind of challenge, I am definitely one to rise from it. Gloria says, I want to paint a hummingbird now. And Sam is online as Sam, and I want to say good morning to you, Sam. Good morning to Lucy and to Kate too, my beautiful, beautiful goddaughters. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to all of you too. Like I said, you have no idea how much I appreciate your support during these times, because sitting here on my own, I've got a whole wealth of you out there who are following along, who are signing up for tutorials and who are making really lovely comments like this. Thank you so much. Take care all of yourself. Stay safe, stay creative, and if I can ever help at all, you know where to find me. Take care.